By the end of 2024, 3 have gotten to the end of the process. They were trying.
Three of these 56.
Yes.
End of the process, meaning they've actioned it, they've built it, or they've
No, of course not. I didn't mean they've built it, John. Sorry, I confused you.
Oh, dear
They
God.
just got to the point where, in theory, they could get the money to build
They
it.
had been approved for the money.
Yes. Yes, basically.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your man Wise, and today we got to talk about Ezra Klein. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he's been making the rounds for his new book, Abundance, which is ironic because after this latest podcast stop, we're left wondering where all the abundance went. On the weekly show with Jon Stewart, Ezra dove into the Biden administration $42 billion broadband expansion. You know, the one that's supposed to connect America, but so far hasn't managed to connect a single household, not one. It's like the Wi-Fi signal got lost somewhere in the bureaucracy. And the real twist is this. The clip accidentally became one of the best ads for DOGE that you'll see. While $42 billion in government spending can't get your grandma Netflix, the Democrats have figured out a way to once again overpromise and overwhelmingly undeliver. We're going to get into this clip, but first, like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on, click that all so you never miss an upload. Let's get into it.
There was a theory of the Biden administration, and that was a couple things. But what were the Biden administration's, at least what in terms of what it was able to pass, what were its major, what differentiated it? Maybe it's the best way to say this in Obama.
Green energy, baby. Green energy and investment.
Green energy and infrastructure.
Sure.
This was a building liberalism.
Yes.
Right? The main achievements of Obama, if you go down and list them, it's like you'll say the Affordable Care Act, you'll say the Dodd-Frank regulations, it'll be a bunch of things like that. And what's interesting about those is that they're all etched into regulation. They didn't require a lot to happen in the physical world, right? Bank capital requirements does not require the laying of a lot of transmission line. But Biden, it wasn't like that. Lunch Pail Joe, Scranton Joe, they had an agenda. I mean, they lost a lot of their care agenda because of Manchin.
Right.
But they had then an agenda that was very much about building rural broadband.
Maybe even back better. They didn't want to just build it, Ezra. They wanted it back better.
Maybe, oh, wow. Man, that's there's something about throwing me back to that moment that hurts at this moment, right? Like the optimism, it was a simpler time.
It was a simpler time. Yeah, but you make the point in the book, which I think is really interesting, that moment of optimism actually crystallized in some ways the failure.
Yes.
And you make it very stark in terms of, for instance, the Chargers, which I think is a great example.
So liberals passed $7.5 billion for a nationwide network of electric vehicle chargers. We also get $42 billion, and this is a big thing they tout a lot, to do rural broadband. There's a lot of parts of this country that are not hooked up to broadband. And in both cases, and these were passed early in the administration, particularly the rural broadband money, by the end of the administration, by the election, by the time I'm fact-checking the book, they just have not happened. And you look into why, and we did look into why. And what you get are these incredibly baroque internal processes. I'll focus on rural broadband for a minute here, because that one was a good idea.
Still a good idea.
And they liked it. Like, that was the one they went around when they talked about the infrastructure bill, they were like, roads and rural broadband, right? And if you look into what happened, they created, not in the bill, but this is really important. We have this whole little Schoolhouse Rock song about how a bill becomes a law, and it's like sitting on the steps of the
I'm not going to
Congress.
ask you to sing it, Ezra.
I've been practicing. I have been practicing. We don't have the song about how the law becomes reality, how the law becomes a series of implementation rules, then a notice of funding opportunity, then there's a comment period, then there's a challenge period for the comments, then there's a series of court cases.
Right.
And so for rural broadband, for instance, what you end up having is a 14-stage process. Like, there's a period where the Commerce Department needs to draw up a map of which parts of the country don't have the right amount of broadband. And then there's a challenge period on the map, and da-da-da-da, and da-da-da-da. And 56 states and jurisdictions try to apply for this money. And again, this passes at the end of 2021. They have time. By the end of 2024, 3 have gotten to the end of the process. They were trying.
Three of these 56.
Yes.
End of the process, meaning they've actioned it, they've built it, or they've
No, of course not. I didn't mean they built it, Sean. Sorry, I confused you.
Oh, dear
They just
God.
got to the point where, in theory, they could get the money to build.
They had been approved for the money.
Yes. Yes, basically.
How many of these obstacles are? Let's try and tease it out a little, because I think the more specific you get here, Ezra, I think the more helpful it is for everybody to understand.
And I will say in the book, we try to get, not on this particular issue, but we get very specific on how these things work.
You're very granular, and it's fascinating. So I want to tease out how much of this is also local and state issue, how much of this is litigation, how much of this is kind of the liberal instinct of nothing can get, you can't solve anything unless it also solves everything, meaning it also has to be carbon neutral and hire only disabled contractors and also small businesses. You know, what is the percentage of this that really affects what you think is a blueprint forward for Democrats, and what is other kind of noise?
I'm trying to see if I can pull up where I actually have.
We're going to get into the clip to where he really kind of goes down the rabbit hole of the steps it takes to get just the money funded for a project like this. Now, mind you, this idea came out 2021. Here it is, 25, and they hadn't even started yet. And this broadband, you know, in rural areas is something that is needed. It is something that is needed. It is actually something that I could actually, when I heard about it, I was like, okay, this makes sense. I can get on board with this. But when you have $42 billion spent and nothing has been accomplished, that is a problem. And that is the biggest problem with these liberals. Everything, it's over regulatory. It's a bunch of bureaucracy. It's let's hire a bunch of consultants, no different than what's going on out in California, where they paid $10 million for some consultants to figure out, you know, how they're going to help people build their homes back. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's all a money grab with these people. Let's hire some consultants and let's talk about it for 5 years without doing anything and spend a bunch of money. Make sure y'all hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. Let's get into the next clip.
We have to issue the notice of funding opportunity within 180 days. That's step 1. Step 2, which all 56 state applicants completed, is states who want to participate must submit a letter of intent. After they do that, they can submit a request for up to $5 million in planning grants. Then the NTIA, step 4, has to review and approve and award, again, planning grants, not broadband grants, planning grants.
And it's still at the NTIA. It's still at the first step.
All right, so the NTIA must issue a NOFO within 180 days. States who want to participate must submit their letter of intent. Step 3, they can request up to $5 million in planning grants.
Just planning.
Step 4, the requests are reviewed, approved, and awarded by the NTIA, which currently all 56, 3 years later, all 56 applicants had passed through at least step 5. It took more than 3 years. So it's a long time. States must submit a 5-year action plan. So the states kind of go back and they kind of think about how they're going to do this. And they don't just say, okay, thank you for the money. We're going to spend it. And you can see how it worked out later. We're like, here's our 5-year action plan. Then the FCC must publish the broadband data maps before NTIA allocates funds. So having done the NOFO, the letters of intent, the request for planning grants, then the review, approval, and awarding of the planning grants, then the 5-year action plans. In between that, the federal government has to put forward a map saying where it thinks we need rural broadband subsidies. And then, of course, the states need an opportunity to challenge the map for accuracy. And you can imagine this doesn't all happen in like a day. Okay, so then the NTIA, step 7, has to use the FCC maps to make allocation decisions. Then, having already done their letter of intent, their request for planning grants, it's hard even to talk about this, man. Step 7 is NTIA must use the FCC maps that were already challenged for allocation decisions. Then, having submitted all this, I think this one is actually quite amazing.
Yeah.
Having submitted their 5-year plans or letters of intent, step 8 is states must submit an initial proposal to the NTIA. Then,
is that the result of their $5 million planning fund? This
I
initial
assume,
proposal?
but then what was the 5-year plan?
And what the did they apply for? What was their NOFO?
Like, if the 5-year action plan isn't the initial proposal, then what's the 5-year action
Forget
plan?
NOFO.
Okay.
MOFO.
Step 9, NTIA must review and approve each state's, again, initial proposal. By my read, we have had at least 2 initial proposals here, but that's a different issue.
Oh my God.
Step 10, states must publish their own map and allow internal challenges to their own map. So the government has published a map. They have invited the states to challenge the map. Then states have submitted initial proposals, and they then have to publish their own map and allow challenges.
Wait, who's challenging it within the state?
Well, organized interest groups, environmental groups, like I don't know who specifically, but literally anybody. This is,
right.
I want to say something because it's very important I say this. This is the Biden administration's process for its own bill. They wanted this to happen. This is how liberal government works now.
This is something they instituted for this bill.
For their bill. This is a bill passed by Democrats with a regulatory structure written by Democratic administration. Okay.
Right.
Step 11. The NTIA must review and improve the challenge results and the final map. So the NTIA has put forward a map. The states have challenged that map. Then the states have put forward their maps, had other challenges. And now the NTIA must review and approve the challenges to the state maps. Okay. So we've done step 11, NTIA must review and approve challenge results and final map. We've lost 9 of the applicants at that point. Step 12, states must run a competitive sub-granting process.
Oh my God. At step 12, after all this has been done.
Yeah, none of that could have happened along the way here. We have now lost 17 more applicants. So now 30 of 56 have completed step 12. Step 13, states must submit a final proposal. All the proposals weren't enough to NTIA. Now that goes to 3 of 56. So we've gone in the last couple steps from 56 had gone to this point to 3 of 56. Step 14, the NTIA must review and approve the state's final proposal. And that is 3 of the 56 jurisdictions and states are there. In summary, states are nearly at the finish line. And it says to stop their progress now, or worse, to make them go backwards, would be a stick in the spokes of the most promising broadband deployment plans we have ever seen. End scene.
I'm speechless, Ezra. Honestly, it's far worse than I could have imagined. But the fact that they amputated their own legs on this is what's so stunning.
Like I said at the top, this is hands down one of the best ads for DOGE you'll ever see. Seriously. Hands down, this is the best one. This right here is exactly why blue states are in the mess that they're in right now. Bureaucracy, overregulation, red tape thicker than a government manual. It's like progress showed up to work and gets stuck in HR for 6 months. I mean, just imagine the amount of waste, hiring people that didn't need to be hired, $42 billion and not one new household connected. That is diabolical. Diabolical. It's ridiculous. And you know that the Biden administration, they packed it full of DEI consultants, climate audits, and 12 layers of compliance officers, all nodding off in Zoom calls while nothing actually got built. This is a piss poor way to run government. It just is. But I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on so you never miss an upload. Keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.